inonzi Sister Magna Maminimini. Ndakazvarwa kuwedza. Ndakazvarwa on the 15th of September 1952. I belong to a family of 5, but my father had 2 wives, so we're 11 children altogether. And from my mother were 5, and then 6 from my stepmother. Out of the 6, the 11 children were 5 girls and 6 boys. So of the girls, 1 died, so we are left 4 girls. And the boys, there are 2 left. I attended my primary school in Mukondwa School, Wedza, part of it. And then I went to Chiwota, where I lived with my brother, and I attended part of my primary school there. During our time in the 1950s, it was standards, not grades. So I did standard 3 in St. Nicholas, and then from standard 4 upwards I was at Mausekwa High School. My vocation started when I was still very young. We used to go with my mother to Mount St. Mary's Mission, and that was a long distance. So we'd wake up around 3 a.m., have our food for the journey to go and catch Mass at Mount St. Mary's. So by the time we arrived, we would find those who had started Mass at 6 coming out, waiting to have our 7 o'clock Holy Mass. That's on Sundays. So we used to go. Sometimes we didn't manage because the walking was too long. But all the same, we went. My parents were married in the Methodists, but since this Father Becknoff was coming to our place to have Mass as an outreach point for him after 3 months or so, I found that in the end my mother became a Catholic, and also my grandparents became Catholics. My father was still in between, but he was very, hearing a Bible sterek, and he would question all those who come, would love to talk with them on Bible issues. When how I decided to become a religious was when I was going for Mass with my mother. Each time we were kind of surrounded by mountains in the distance, and in the depth of my heart, I really wanted to go and give myself to God. And I always thought, I can only meet God on high places like those mountains. And I always told my mother, when I grow up, I want to become, someone who is going to work for God, and especially to work with children. That was my desire. And I thought it was just, something which is in the passing. I went to, after in Chiwota, I went to Harare, where I did my standard 5 and 6. And when I finished, I went to Makumbi High School and did Form 1 and 2. And then I didn't pass very well. Some of the subjects I had to redo. So I was at home now doing my subjects. But in the depth of my heart, there was this calling. I must give myself to God. And this was what was in me. One day, one of my nephews, a very little one, said to me, Auntie, when are you going to receive your dress as a sister? I said, who told you that I want to become a sister? So I tried to brush it very much off. And my friends, when I was at school, my friends were boys. We really, enjoyed working together. It was a relationship of more of studies. And I suppose those at home, they thought from these boys, I've got a boyfriend there, but truly speaking, there was nothing. So it was kind of, a joy to be there and a joy to give myself. My cousin sister had become a sister. She was in the LCBL congregation, Sister Helen Tendai Maminimini. And I never even told her that I want to become a sister. I never even told those at home that I wanted to become a sister. Till when I was 18, I once told my mother, and my mother said, "Oh, I'll kill myself if you go and become a sister." I said, no. I wouldn't want to see my mother, tortured in her heart like that. So I said, forget about it, I won't. And then when I reached the age of 21, I thought to myself, this is the adult age. If I go to them and tell them I'm going to be married, I'm sure they'll say yes. So I said, this is the time for me. I went to St. Ignatius at Marywood. They were offering domestic science courses. My brother had looked for the place for me. So I went and did that domestic science course. And in the meantime, I was praying very hard, Lord, show me what you want of me. And then I felt this desire, I want to join these sisters. So I didn't tell them. I went back home after the course and I said to my mother, I'm going to become a sister. She said, no, not under my dead body. I said, sure. I prayed very hard to Our Lady. Till my sister, my mother had a fracture of a leg, so she was with my sister. Till my sister said in the end, to begin with, she was together with my mother. And then in the end, she said, if something happens to her, how would you feel? Then she was quiet. And then she said, whatever you say, let it be. So I felt Our Lady has helped me to answer this call. That was before I went to my father to tell him. When I went to tell my father, I went home. That was from Makumbi. I went home to Wedza and told my father, first I was very welcomed, happy. My stepmother and my father, they were so happy. And then when we were just having supper, that's when I broke the news. I said to my father, I've come to tell you that I want to become a sister. And the one who actually based up was my stepmother. Uruda kuenda kupu, uruda kufasa usina mwana sa Helena iwe. And then my father said, ko imi ndima kamuzvara here, anditakazvarwa naMwari. Saka kana Mwari ari kumuda, regai aende. Kana aona zvanetsa anodzoka. Sokuti anambosiya auraya munhu, haana kupisa dzimba. Saka imi muri kurambidzirei kuti asaende. She was really up in arms anyway. But for me, that was a blessing. My father had said yes. My mother had said yes. So I said, Lord, thank you. And Mary, our mother, thank you very much for all what you have done for me. So this is how I went to the convent. I went to the sisters and then told them, I want to join you. And said they were very happy. They had three other candidates who were there. So I was the fourth one. I entered as a candidate in November 1974, and from there, 1975, we became novices. So 1974 to 1975, we were postulants. It was kind of short. We were postulants, and then we entered the novitiate from 1975. This is why I am celebrating the Golden Jubilee for entering in the congregation from 1975 to 2025. And this is where I am. I did my novitiate in Chishawasha St. Ignatius College and my juniorate as well. Soon after, that was during the time of war. In 1977, there were those martyrs of Musami who were killed. We just buried them, and I suppose the sisters feared that we might we might also be taken away from them. In the end, we were 3, one had left as a postulant. So they told us to, or they talked with us and said, we'll send you overseas. So for us, it was welcome. Tikaenda kupi, tikaenda Rome, through Rome, tikaenda ku England, where I completed my O-levels, which I had not passed. And then I went to London, where I did a secretarial course with Pitmans. And then from there, in 1980-81, I went to Germany, where I learned the language, and then did a bit of a course in sewing. And then from there, in 1981, towards the end of 1981, nomba ndadzoka, nomba ndaenda ku St. Ignatius. During that time, we had 2 communities of our sisters. Those in Chishawasha, we had some in Zaka. The ones who were in Serima had withdrawn and they had gone to Zaka. In Zaka, they were running the hospital, St. Anton's Mission Hospital. They are the ones who started it. The ones in Chishawasha, they running the boarding school for girls, and they did a domestic science course, offered a domestic science course, which was very, very helpful during that time for women, young girls. They were being empowered. So I went there. I helped with the domestic science since I had learned the course in Germany. And then I was also secretary to Father Berry at St. Ignatius College. So I did part of my morning at the college and part in the afternoon with the women. And then I did my tertianship in 1982, preparing for final vows. And then I took my final vows in 1983 on the 1st of January. On the 3rd of January, I went to Parerenyatwa to start my nurse training. So I started nurse training. It was an exchange, Parerenyatwa and Harare Hospital. So I finished my nurse training in 1986, and then in June 1986, I came to Kwekwe. We were living in Bema Road, and then I was working at Kwekwe General Hospital. And from there, I worked for 9 years at Kwekwe General Hospital. And then I was taken to Chishawasha. I was asked to go to St. Joseph's Clinic to run the clinic at St. Joseph's in Chishawasha, which I did for 5 years. After those 5 years, I was involved in formation of our young people. So I did that in 2000, that's when I left the clinic, and I went to Rome for a 6 months formation course, which I did, and then came back and was in formation at Milton, staying at Milton Park, that's in Harare, and then came to Kwekwe in 2006 at the novitiate here, where I trained our young people as novices, postulants and novices. And then I finished in 2010. From 2010, end of 2010, I went to Nesigwe under Gokwe Diocese. We were asked if we could be on that mission, so we were there. I was doing kind of pastoral, and the other sister, were 2 of us. The other sister was working in the school, Sister Monica. And then in 2013, I went for a sabbatical year in Kenya, and came back in 2013. End of 2013, I then went to St. Ignatius College, where I was the nurse for the students, the dispensary students and staff, where the dispensary was under St. Joseph's Clinic, but I was the one running it. And then from there, 2019, it was COVID. We were invited to go to Mozambique. So we just went for kunoona kuti kwakadii, taona kuti kwakadii, and then takadzoka. It was COVID, we couldn't move much. And then in 2020, that's when we started processing papers kuti tiende ku Mozambique. Mozambique, there was a clinic which was built, which we were supposed to be running, and then they wanted us to be at the boarding school with the students, girls, and at the school. So we went in different stages with the other sister, and then in the end there were two of us who actually stayed there for 2 years. The sister Maria, who is still there, and myself. So in Mozambique, the challenge yanga iripo language, kuti utaure Portuguese, it was and then chewa yacho, it was difficult kuti unyatsoti fluent kutaura. Saka it was a struggle, but it was a mission which yaive necessary, because people there, sure, unoona wega kuti vari vachiri below, vanhu vanoda rubetsero kuti vanyatsoziva kuti vari kuitei, zviri kuitika chitendero, even vana vasikana vacho, zvese zvataiona zvaiitika muMozambique, sure zvaida isusu kuti tivanzwisise, tivabetsere kuti vakwanise kudi, kuti vazokwanisa kuzvibatsira ivo pachezvavo. From Mozambique ndakadzoka 2023, towards the end of 2023. Then it was due to issue of the health, moving up and down, going down to the students, coming up, because there I was helping in the dispensary of the students. It was also, our papers were not yet, acknowledged by the Mozambican health of government officials. So we're just helping the boarding mistress who was there, helping she was not a nurse, we were the nurses, but so we had to help her, when she had students who were sick, and then accompanying students to the hospital in Ulongwe, way in Ezil. So when I came back to Chishawasha, and then from there I came to St. Edward's Hospital Road. And I was asked to go for a time to Nesigwe, so I went to Nesigwe to be with the two.
Sister Magna ngiqalisa ukumazi eNesigwe. Imsebenzi yakhe wayengumuntu ozehlisayo, umuntu ole willingness ukusebenza even lapho ophiwe khona engakhethi indawo lokho ukuthi isimo sinjani. Despite her health and her age, azange khethe ukuthi usebenzela ngaphi, usebenza lapho kule language okwanisa khona. Even eNesigwe uchiye ebambe impilo zabantu eziningi, and her memory ilokhe ikhona esebantwini baseNesigwe, and then even now they are willing and wishing ukuthi ngabe uyaphendula. I continue to say congratulations, Amhlophe Sister Magna, and I wish to follow in your footsteps.
And for a while I was there in Nesigwe, and then I came back to the novitiate, number 39 Hospital Road, where I am now. During the times of the formation which I had left out, the things which were so challenging were during the time when we used to go out for catechetical It was catechetical with the war veterans, and it wasn't easy. We worked with the people of Rekaitangwena at Ruwa, John Deere farm. And it was so, it was an experience for me to see those people. They'd come from war, and they are, wounded people at heart. So really we had to do a lot of talking with them, listening to them. Even take, for example, during the offertory of Mass, you would find they are busy with conversations, but you had to understand them, not to criticize them. But in the end, we were such good friends. And then we went to also to work at Melfort with the women veterans. It was also an experience. Here we were young, but we had to work with them. So it was a challenge for these women who had experienced. Some of them had been holding guns, killing. So for us, it really took a lot, but we learned a lot from them, which I really appreciated, how they were coming back to be themselves, to be women of respect, rather than to be women with the guns in the bush. So it was a real challenge and a motivation also. And from there, we also went to teach catechism at a government school in Ruwa again. So we were the first ones who had, ventured into that area. But they were the teachers, the headmaster. He was very appreciative of our presence, and we really did journey with the young people, teaching them catechism, and they were all very happy with us. So some of those were the challenges which we were meeting as we grew up, especially as we were novices. The congregation is, according to the name, Congregatio Jesu or Merward Sisters. And our first sisters who came, they were pioneer sisters who came from Germany. Why they came to Zimbabwe is during the Second World War II. They were bombing in mines in Germany. They were, destroying so many places like any other war-ridden area. So the Mother General who was there, she prayed with the sisters to say, if the sisters are not killed during this war, I'm going to send sisters on mission to Africa. So this is how she sent sisters who came. There were 5 of them who came on the missions, and they were the ones who then, recruited us after some time. After they came in 1951, and we then started in 1974 as young women who joined them. First, they wanted to start their formation in the Gweru diocese, but it didn't work. So in the end, they came to Harare, and from Harare, that's when we had the sisters. I suppose in Gweru diocese, the bishop had started the congregation of the SJI sisters, and they wanted young people to join the sisters to start that congregation and, to let it be viable in the diocese. So when we joined, there were some young girls before us who wanted to join, but they never did in the end. So the 4 of us who started, 3 of us pursued to novitiate, and then to profession, final profession. The 3rd one left when we were just preparing for final profession. She saw that it wasn't her calling, so she went and got married. But she's still part and parcel of the congregation. She lives in UK. When she comes back, she will always visit us to see us, and she just feels at home with us. From the congregation, when I talked of the congregation, it was started from Germany. The sisters came from Germany. Later, they were joined by sisters from England who came. So also you can imagine the two, England and Germany, they were fighting against each other during the Second World War. And here the sisters were, what the Lord does is amazing. Because here the sisters were now living together, doing everything together. They can have, tempers, but I suppose the grace of God always brought calm, peace, and, that spirit of togetherness. So would always, be there. And us being the Zimbabweans, Africans, we joined the white people. So all this was, it wasn't that easy. But I suppose the grace of God will always strengthen one to go on. If the Lord is called, the Lord will always give the means of how to survive and how to carry on. So it always gave us that, strong desire to be faithful to our vocation, to strive. They taught us a lot, to be strong, faithful, to be courageous, to trust in God, to do God's will in all things, to find joy, peace, and happiness in serving other people, and to strive, like the charism says, to strive for the defense and propagation of faith and progress of souls in Christian life and doctrine by responding to universal mission and living the gospel values in the spirit of the just soul virtues of freedom, justice, and sincerity, referring all to God under the banner of the cross. With readiness and availability, we save and empower those at the margins where it seems proper to the glory of God and the common good. We are also involved in teaching, nursing, social work, pastoral work, administration, counseling, spiritual direction, chaplaincy, and other things wherever need is necessary. And that readiness and availability calls us to be on the mission. So we can be sent anywhere. We are ready to do anything. We also take the fourth vow, which is the vow of obedience to the Pope, which means we can be sent through our Mother General. We can be sent anywhere at any moment. So there is supposed to be that readiness. As we journeyed together with the sisters, they were old sisters. So as we journeyed together, we find some of them, they returned home because they felt the congregation is still very young, and the congregation is young, and we cannot burden them by remaining here to be nursed by these young sisters. So some of them, when they saw they are aging, they asked if they could go back home, and they did. They were allowed to go back. And also those who remained behind, they did their service. They worked very hard, and they were very inspiring, very kind, very supportive in whatever we were striving for. Like we built the children's home in Amaveni, caring for orphans who have nobody, children who are just left on the streets. So through the social welfare, we cared for, and we are still caring for those children. There are 4 homes there with mothers, and the sisters are the ones who are running that children's home. And then we built the Merward Primary School in Mbizo, which is a school catering for all ages, for all children, especially it was meant to be for the poor, but you find even those who have the means, they are sending their children there. So it's a real privilege for those who are in Mbizo, some of them who are coming from Newtown, from Amaveni even. And then of late we've built the Merward High School, which is also in Mbizo, and it has gone up to Form 6, from Form 1 to Form 6 now. The sisters are running the school, which is really doing a great job.
Sister Caroline Shonwa, CJ, takapinda iri IBMV asiyava CJ. Takawana na Sister Magna Maminimini avari muchita vachishanda kwekwe General SNS vachigara kuhospital road. Munhu anga akangonyorovera achita basa rake aine chido zvikuru sei papastoral work apapo. Vakaenda kwamavhenti kanogara tese futi vava junior mistress ikoko. Vakange vava superior warehouse vachitarisa masista nekuonawo children's home in terms of health, and then preschool. Saka munhu anga ari overall zvinongoratidza kuti munhu anenge achingozvipirawo kuti available, ende ndo yanga ati chipo chavo chikuru cheavailability. Tikanogara futi zvenawo kuti shawasha vari superior vangu zvokuti ndakatota silver jubilee yangu Sister Magna vari superior vangu kuti shawasha ari munhu zvaanga achitarisa masista, tarisa musha mukuru wechishawasha, kunge vachiona zvo zvinenge kuitwa ipapo. Asi chandinoona chaizvo zvipo zvaSister Magna zvokuti tinotenda Mwari nazvo muchita medu ndechekuti munhu anoda kunamata, munhu akapfava, munhu anodawo family yake, uye munhu anoda kugara navamwe zvakanaka, murunyararo munyatsonzwisisa vamwe. Saka ndinongoti da Mwari vangoramba vachingovakomborera, vavapa utano, kuvawanziridza zvipo zvakawanda, nokuvachengetera hama dzavo dziri pedyo nedziri kure, vachingovakomborera. Ndo zvandinovashuvira mukati muupenyu hwavo. Thank you.
We are a congregation in different places. We are in Chishawasha. Shawasha, there is the boarding place for the girls who attend school at St. Ignatius College. And then there is a sister who is running the dispensary. And also we have in St. Joseph's Clinic, there's a community of sisters there running the clinic and teaching at the primary school. And then we have sisters in Milton Park. That's where the regional offices are, where our regional superior is, Sister Maria Goretu Mdozi, and she's the one who administers our activities. And then we also have sisters in Norton. They are running a clinic in Norton. It's an area where it's also in the suburbs, and they are running the clinic, and some of them they are doing counseling and social work there. And then we have sisters who are in Mbizo at the primary school. In Mbizo they've the preschool, primary school, and then the secondary school. The sisters are living in Merward Primary School. There's a convent there.
2025 is indeed a jubilee year, and a very special jubilee year for us as CJ sisters. Our pioneer sisters, Sister Magna and Sister Hildegardis, are celebrating 50 years in the congregation this year, and we are grateful for that. Indeed, we are grateful to the Lord for their courage to be the first sisters to join our sisters from overseas. I am especially grateful to the Lord for the gift of Sister Magna, for the person she is to us as a region. She was in formation for many years, and I had the privilege of being one of her junior sisters. For that, I am very grateful to the Lord. In Sister Magna, we have a role model of love for the Lord, a very good sense of humor, and she's always smiling, and that makes the young ones comfortable to be around her. Her frequent visits to the chapel, which strengthen her relationship with the Lord, gives also a good example to the young sisters. Indeed, we are glad for this year as we thank the Lord for our sisters, and we continue asking our Mother Mary Ward to continue praying for us and give us His Spirit.
Yeah. And then here at Hospital Road, this is our formation house. And then we've got sisters in Amaveni, where they've got the children's home, the preschool, and doing a lot of social work as well.
Ini ndinonzi Sister Mary Chironga. Ndoda kukorokotedza zvikuru Sister Magna Maminimini kuti vakasvitsa 50 years vari somupikiri. Sister Magna was always a cheerful someone. She was an exemplary, a good exemplary to our young sisters. She's a person who's just neutral. Havana side ravanotora, vanongo embrace vanhu vose, zvikuru sei masisters edu, ma-CJ sisters. Toda kutenda Sister Magna sezvo vakave ndo ma-pioneers akatanga kuve vanasister vatema kuregion yedu muno muZimbabwe. Sister Magna munhu anofarira kuita zvakasiyana siyana, ma-practical akasiyana siyana, munhu ari practical. But chandoona chinozoleka ndechekuti isusu hativape a full support to that practical thing zvavanoita. Munhu anogadzira ma-candles, munhu anofarira zvegreen mugarden, munhu anofarira kungo clear nzvimbo igare yakangochena. Asi isusu semasista madiko tiri kukura, we need to give you that full support kuti ivo vanzwe kuti ini ndiri kupawo a good education kune vadiki vari kutevera mukukura kwatinenge tichiita. Sister Magna vaivawo munhu anozvipira, anoita full commitment kubasa rake raanoita. Havazeze, vanoita kusvika vasvika pakupedzisira chaipo. Vanonzwa basa ravo pavanenge vachiriita vachinzwa kufaranuka, vaine joy. Havaite kutsutsumwa kana kufila kuti vanhu vari kunitarisira pasi, asi kuti vanoita basa ravo vaine full commitment pavanenge vachiita basa ravo. Uye vanongofarira zvakare vana vechidika, zvikuru sei pano pachildren's home vakambogara zvakare pano takagara navo. Vaikanga vaine joy kuona vana vachikura vari vadiki, vachienda vachikura nemazera avakasiyana siyana. Munhu anofarira vana vadiki, uye munhu anokurudzira vana vadiki, anovapawo mazano akanaka kuti vakure vari vana vakanaka, vana vanokudza vabereki vavo, vana vanokudza vanasister vanovachengeta, nana mother vanovatarisira, ma-caregivers vanovachengeta zvakare. Uye Sister Magna, she is someone who cares for God's creation. Vanongofarira kuona zvinhu zviri green, vakaona zvaakusvava vanotora mvura vachidiridza. Munhu iwo kuti anongofarira kungoona zvinhu zvingokura zvichitaridzika zvakanaka. Tikatarisa zvakare Sister Magna, munhu wokuti anga achingopa respect kuvakuru zvakare vari mberi kwavo, kana kuti vari in authority, uye zvakare kunesuwo vadiki. vanotoziva kuti uyu hongu mudiki asi airespect position yainayo chero ivo vari mukuru zvavo asi vanorespecta position ine munhu iyeyo nyangwe ari mudiki kwavari. She's also a loving sister, ever smiling. Hapana chatinoshora pavari. Vanofarirawo zvakare macommunities edu ose kwavakagara kwese waingoona kuti vaisiya something chatinoti it's a legacy chakasiyiwa naSister Magna. Unotoona kuti hapakapfuura naSister Magna pane zvinhu zvavaita in those 50 years. Saka hurudziro yangu ndeyekuti isusu vadiki sekutera mashure kwavari nokukura kwatiri kuita tiratidzewo that good example kune vadikowo zvakare vachiteerawo kwatiri isusu, nokuti tikasava magood example ari vadiki vanongokupa zvatiri kuita izvo kuti ndizvo zvavaingoitawo. Saka isusu tofanirwa kuti tiri vanhu vanopa that good example saSister Magna.
However, according to Mary Ward, you find, having carried the spirit of St. Ignatius, where she felt she needed to be with the people, work for the people, and especially in those areas where need is most. We find Mary Ward says, satisfy yourself with nothing which is less than God. Everything has to be God-centered. And the will of God was a prime desire for Mary Ward, to seek and do the will of God at all times, in all things. She says, show yourself at all times glad and joyful, because the Almighty loves a cheerful giver. And prize your calling highly, and love it before all others, since our Lord has said in the Gospel that he who keeps and teaches the commandments shall be great in the kingdom of heaven. Whoever will serve God according to her state must of necessity love the cross and be ready to suffer much for Christ's sake. Let your love be at all times rooted in God, and then remain faithful to your friend and value him highly, even more highly than your life. Do good and do it well. Love and speak the truth at all times. Show yourself as you are, and be what you show yourself. These are some of Mary Ward's sayings, which I just brought a few of them. So as we are, my hope is I feel that it's an inner voice that begs you not to give up. Hope, which I have within myself, is the expectation of good in the future. I hope and pray and trust that the congregation will continue to do the work that we have been called to do, and to do it well with our hearts, seeking the will of God at all times. The teaching of the pioneer sisters, what was going on through that time, which helped me to be hopeful for the future of the congregation, was that they really stressed the need for prayer, that we should be prayerful people who are committed, people who know our vocation and desire to fulfill it. And we need to live according to the will of God. What is the will of God for me? So prayer and contemplation are the big tools that we need to go with, embrace, so that we know who we are. Otherwise, we will not manage to carry on. the congregation may seem not to be growing slowly, but they said it's better to have one person who knows what she is doing rather than to have so many people who do not know what they are seeking. So we pray and hope to God that the Lord will send us young people who are focused, young people who know what they are seeking for, what they are giving themselves to, that it's God, and not seeking for the inner self. Ours is to help with whatever we do, we help so that we can also, grow in that grace to give ourselves entirely to God, and giving ourselves entirely to God, seeking His will. I felt that hope builds us up as we wait on God. It releases joy, the joy of the Lord, which becomes our source of strength, and it gives us confidence in whatever we do. True hope comes from God because He is the creator of all things. And hope serves as the anchor of the soul. It gives us something to live for. It becomes our life purpose, mission, and plan of action. Our hope is in God and not in self. Hope in hard times is an element of prophetic vision. During the times when things were tough, that is 1992, 2008, we found ourselves, being people who could also look outside our circle, outside our country, looking for foodstuffs, especially since we had young people, young students at the boarding school and at the domestic science school. So we needed to look for provisions like in countries like Botswana, South Africa, Mozambique. We used to cross those borders to go and look for foodstuffs so that we can also survive. Our sisters, they are working, and they are working very hard. I'm so glad and proud of them, because whatever they are doing it for the honor and glory of God, helping souls, catechizing to them, especially the young, giving them the meaning of life and helping them to be dignified young people, not only girls, but it's girls and boys. So I pray and hope that things will go on moving for the honor of God. In whatever we do it for His glory.
50 years of unwavering dedication, selfless service, and boundless love. As I reflect on this remarkable journey, I am reminded of the countless lives which Sister Magna has touched, the hearts she healed, and the future she has shaped. Her tireless work, compassion, and kindness have left an indelible mark on our community and congregation, inspiring the generations to follow in her footsteps. Through her unwavering commitment, Sister Magna has embodied the very essence of our congregation's values: love, mercy, and service. She has been a beacon of hope, a source of comfort, and a shining example of faith in action. I am forever grateful for her selfless and leadership and her love. Sister Magna celebrate i-50 years golden jubilee yakhe. Imisebenzi yakhe eminingi eyenzileyo isibambe inhliziyo zabantu abaningi, ukungakhethi ukuya lapho okhona. And even today I continue to say congratulations and I wish and desire to follow in your footsteps.
I can never be thankful enough to God for the life He has graced me with these last 50 years of my religious life as a member of the congregation of Jesus. I am so fortunate to be graced with companions who are so loving and committed in their calling and very hard work wherever they are. In the spirit and vision of our foundress Mary Ward, in the spirit of St. Ignatius. So this, in a nutshell, is my life for the past 50 years of my religious life. And I'm so grateful to God always. Thank you.